Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Raising Cane's studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. We got a lot to get to over the next hour. Sharief, Ishaq coming up in 30 minutes. Pelicans maybe drafting in the second round tonight, maybe drafting in the first round tonight. We'll see. We'll talk to Sharief about it coming up in 30 minutes. No pressing trades as of yet from Joe Dumars and company down there in New Orleans, but the day is young, so we'll see how it all shakes out over the course of the next probably 8-9 hours or so. I want to start the hour, continue our series about LSU's opponents coming up this fall, and we have gotten beyond the bye week now to the Alabama Crimson Tide. And I think this is a very fascinating season for Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. It's not a season that he has to prove himself. It's not a season in which he's on the hot seat. They just signed him to a contract extension, y'all. They just did that. So things would have to really go poorly for that circumstance to change in Tuscaloosa. It's a weird thing because you could frame Kalen DeBoer's 2 years in Tuscaloosa any way you want. If you want to say that Alabama has beaten Georgia in both regular season matchups, that Alabama has beaten Auburn in both Iron Bowls, that Alabama has qualified for the SC championship game, that has made the college football playoff, that won a road college football playoff game, you can say all that. That's all true. That's all really good. If you want to say they've lost 8 football games, if you want to say that they lost to Vanderbilt 2 years ago, you want to say they got punked by a 5-7 Florida State team, you want to say that Indiana didn't even have to break a sweat to cold cock them in the playoffs, all that's true too. The truth's probably somewhere in the middle if we're being reasonable about the state of Alabama's football program. It is not the 900-pound death machine that it was under Nick Saban for more than a decade. It is not a disaster. They're just pretty good. Pretty good team. Team that can go to Athens and win a game. Team that can make the college football playoff. Pretty good. Have they sniffed the national championship? No. They have not even remotely sniffed the national championship. And if that's the standard you want to live by, then they're not there. So they got to make some changes this year. And the first one has got to be becoming a more physical football team. And this goes for LSU and Alabama here, by the way. Now, LSU's got a new coach in place. Alabama's going to have to change the way they do things. But what if I would have told you back in 2010, 11, 12, back in 2015, when Leonard Fournette and Derrick Henry were running the football, what if I would have told you that in the not-so-distant future, that LSU and Alabama will be 15th and 16th in the SEC in rushing attempts per game and rushing yards per game? Because that's what we saw last year. LSU was dead last in rushing attempts and dead last in rushing yards per game in the SEC. Alabama was 15th in both stats. They were a finesse, soft football team. And when they got cooking and Ty Simpson got going, they could score points on Georgia. When they got punched in the mouth, they didn't have an answer. They didn't have an answer in Atlanta in the SEC championship game, and they certainly had no answer in Pasadena against Indiana. Listen to this stat. Alabama lost 4 football games last year. In those 4 losses, they averaged 46.7 yards per game rushing. Under 50 yards per game running the football in their 4 losses. In those 4 games, they ran for a total of 2 touchdowns. Like, you cannot win a national championship like that. You can't be a factor nationally if you cannot run the ball. And LSU could not run the ball, and Bama could not run the ball. So this team is going to have to do that. They're also going to need what is now Ryan Coleman Williams to be the freshman version of himself and not the sophomore version of himself. If you didn't know he changed his name, I didn't either. Was Ryan Williams, 17-year-old phenom, great play against Georgia 2 years ago, unbelievable wide receiver, former 5-star, whole deal. He's now Ryan Coleman Williams. He put Coleman on his last name to honor his mom's family. And he's got to be a stud because you see the athleticism. But he was dropping everything in sight last year, right in his hands, dropping everything. That's got to get better. Got to get better. And we will know what this Alabama team is based on 1 5-week stretch. It's 4 games. It's 5 weeks. And it's Alabama's season in a nutshell because I don't believe they're going to lose to South Carolina. I don't believe they're going to lose to Kentucky. I don't think they're losing to Vanderbilt. I don't think Florida State's going to Tuscaloosa and beating them. Like, it could happen, sure. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think this Alabama season comes down to 4 games in 5 weeks. And they're in a row with the bye week in front of LSU, but this is what it is for Alabama. Home Georgia, at Tennessee, home A&M, at LSU. That's it. If they're 3-1 in those 4 games, home Georgia, at Tennessee, home A&M, at LSU. If they're 3-1, playoff team. If they're 2-2, okay, they're heads above water. Got to win the rest of them. If you're 1-3 or 0-4, it's a mutiny in Tuscaloosa. Because Kalen DeBoer, internally in that fan base, not nationally, not in the athletic director's office, internally in that fan base, does not have high approval ratings. Because that fan base believes that the man above blessed Saturdays for Alabama to win football games. And that there are 132 teams and then there's Alabama. That's what they think in their head. And so they, for the most part, skew towards these lost 8 games in 2 years. Not that, well, one was the SC championship game, which didn't really mean anything, and one was to the eventual national champ. And the rules have changed, and Bama's not quite the NIL force that some of the other teams around the country are, and it's a little bit tougher job. None of that rationale is going to matter to Alabama fans. We're Alabama. We win championships. Go do it now. That's how they think. That's how they're wired. And you can't go 1-3 in that stretch. And, it's not that hard to get to 1-3. Lose to Georgia, which is possible. Now, Alabama's the boogeyman for Kirby. You lose to Georgia at home, okay. Go to Knoxville and lose, that can happen for sure. They've lost there twice recently. A&M should be tough this year. And then you got to go to Tiger Stadium. Those are all 4 toss-up games that probably will feature point spreads inside of 4 points. That's what this season's going to boil down to for Kalen DeBoer. And he's not on the hot seat. He's not about to get fired. They just restructured his contract. But losing the fan base would be a big deal. Losing booster confidence is a big deal because they've got to pay the players. And they're not going to be super rational about it. And it was always going to be the case for the guy who replaced the guy, and that's replacing Nick Saban. Now, I was premature in my tweet when Oklahoma went up on Alabama in that playoff game last year. I was like, well, yeah, this is the exit that it was always going to look like. He'll go take the Michigan job or whatever. Then they came back and won the game, to their credit, but then they got hammered in the next one. So Alabama's an interesting case study. I'm very fascinated when we get to Tampa next month to hear what people have to say about Alabama. Because we'll see if Keelan Russell, the former 5-star, is the quarterback. We'll see if they go with Austin Mack, who committed to Kalen DeBoer at Washington and then came to Tuscaloosa. They got to figure out who the quarterback is, and I candidly don't really know where that stands. I don't pay attention to Alabama spring football. I'll get that in July when we go to Tampa and people are talking about them then. But I know those are the 2 guys. I know who Ryan Coleman Williams is, and I know that they got to run the football better. Defense has been okay. Kane Womack's been okay. They're not the most dominant group. It's not the Saban 11 defense. But they've been okay on defense. They've struggled at times offensively. They got to get better from that perspective. But it's an interesting state of that program based on what the fan base thinks, what Kalen DeBoer's delivered, how you read all of that, and what they become this year. And I think that 4-game stretch over 5 weeks in the middle of October and early November is going to be what defines this team's season. And it's going to be fascinating to see. So that's a look at Alabama. If you want to read all my stories on LSU's opponents, we've now gone through, I guess that's 8 of them, maybe 9 of them to this point. We got a few more this week, and then we'll get into our in-depth chart series over at LouisianaSports.net. But you can go check that out. I wrote about Alabama earlier this morning. Wrote a column on the College World Series that's up on the homepage right now. All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back with more. It's a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC online at FabryChevrolet.com. That is FabryChevrolet.com. Awesome deals on trucks right now until the end of the month. If you're looking for Chevy Silverado at 0% APR financing for 36 months, go between now and the end of June. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You want a 2026 GMC Sierra 1500 at 2.9% for 72 months? Now until the end of the month, get on by and see them. Awesome deals on trucks. It's Trucks Month at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Make that short drive up Highway 61 in St. Francisville. If you're looking for a Chevy Trailblazer, Chevy Trax, as low as $30,000. Go to the website. The entire inventory is right there at FabryChevrolet.com. You can search it there. Sort by mileage, sort by price, sort by make and model. Whatever you're looking for, they've got it at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. It's online at FabryChevrolet.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Here to tell you about Lifetime Roofing. They're online at lifetimeroofingla.com. That's lifetimeroofingla.com. Baton Rouge-based roofing company. They service the entire state of Louisiana, plus Houston as well. Their core values are customer service, quality, and integrity, and they take all of them very, very, very seriously. They understand that their customer base is right here in South Louisiana. That's where they're from. That's where they're born and raised. They understand that quality is so important down in South Louisiana because we have rough weather. We've got, obviously, hurricanes that roll through this time of year. We've got hailstorms as well. Get a lot of rain in the summer months. And if you're noticing an issue, you may need someone to come up, do a repair, do a new roof. And they take their quality very, very seriously. And integrity is very important when it comes to roofing because you understand that not everybody, not every homeowner has a feel for what a roof should or should not look like. And so when the roofer goes up there, it's easy for someone to just charge for the most expensive thing, which is a new roof. At Lifetime Roofing, you can trust them to go up there and properly assess your situation. If they just need to repair something, they'll repair it. If you just need a tune-up to fortify that roof, they'll do it. And if you need a new roof, they'll help you with that as well. And if you need help financing it, they can do that 0% for 18 months. And Lifetime Roofing is so proud to offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Started that in January of this year, 6 months in. They are so proud of the work that they have done. That warranty backs the craftsmanship as well as the materials that are used. So if you're looking for a new roof or want a roof inspection to make sure your roof is in proper shape for this storm season, check them out online at lifetimeroofingla.com. All right. So this is one of those segments where I pass some news along, and admittedly, because it's happened while I'm on the air, I'm not as well read on it as I'd like to be, and I can't answer every question or present every hypothetical or how it impacts LSU directly today. I'll have to do more digging on that when I'm not doing the 2-hour radio show. But I can tell you that the NCAA Division I cabinet has unanimously voted to approve the age-based eligibility model. It's a big moment for the NCAA here. It means that you're going to have the 5-for-5 implemented. You've got 5 years from either the end of your high school career or your 19th birthday to complete your eligibility. We're not doing big red shirt rules, and we're not doing court cases over that. We're not doing medicals or gray shirts or any of that kind of stuff that we once knew in the world of eligibility. Your 19th birthday comes and goes, you got 5 years. You finish your high school education, you got 5 years. That's it. So there are some pieces to this that would theoretically directly impact LSU, assuming this goes into effect for this coming year. The European basketball players that LSU has brought in could be affected here. Jan Madar is nowhere near 5 years from high school. Nowhere near. He's nowhere near 5 years from his 19th birthday. Now, you want to get into military service, that kind of stuff? Who knows? In Pete Nakos' article for On 3, he writes that any waiver that you are applying for this coming year has to be turned in by the schools and the conferences by the end of July. I think that's right. Let me make sure I read that correctly. Has to be filed by July 31st. So you've got a month. So I guess that probably, and again, I'm telling you what I think. I don't know. This just happened, so I'm reacting on the fly with you. I think that would suggest that LSU is going to have to file some paperwork for its basketball players by July 31st. And I think that would suggest that once that filing is done, you would hope to find a reasonably quick resolution. The good news for basketball is that it's not starting as quickly as football. If you file it by July 31st, you do have August and September and October, 3 months before you ever play a real basketball game to get a decision made. And I would imagine they could get that done in 3 months. You would prioritize the football, volleyball, soccer first, and then you would get to men's and women's basketball pretty quickly after that. 3 months feels like enough time. Now, I understand that might sound ridiculous because the NCAA never does anything rapidly, never does anything on the up and up, but this should clear up a lot of issues. I don't know if LSU can win those cases or not. I got a text message from a buddy just now that asked about baseball draft and leverage. And I'll give you my just knee-jerk thought on that, because the name that's going to come up a lot here is Curiel and Brown, right? Those are the guys you want back that would be draft eligible this year. Well, now they've got more leverage and all that kind of stuff. Technically, yeah. It would offer you another year of leverage against the draft. I will tell you this in speaking with people at LSU who are fighting the battle against MLB, trying to get high school kids to LSU, trying to get LSU kids back on campus once they get here and they're draft eligible. The agents and the big league teams really, really, really emphasize age to these young people. I mean, you're going to be 22 years old by the time you get drafted. That's so old. You've got 22-year-olds making MLB All-Star teams. Teams aren't going to want to draft you if you're 22 years old. If you're 23 years old, they don't want a 23-year-old. 23-year-olds that they pay, they want on their big league roster, not in high A ball. And that's the battle you have to fight, right? Now, you're talking dollars and cents, and the days of when I started covering the draft in earnest, like 2011, 2012, 2013, it was very common for 7th and 8th round picks who were seniors, who were out of eligibility, who did not have their leverage. It was very common for them to sign for like $11,000. That doesn't really happen anymore. You do compromise 6 figures off your slot. If you're a senior, you've lost your leverage and you get drafted in a spot that pays $720,000. Now you're usually getting like $450,000, $500,000. It's not every case, but I went back and looked through all the draft picks from last year, and that's the overwhelming majority of 4-year college seniors, meaning they go to a 4-year institution like a D1 school, and you're a senior. A lot of those guys just knock off 6 figures. They knock off $150K, they knock off $185K, and then put that back in their pool. They're not signing guys for $10,000 anymore. At least not very often. So there are a lot of different factors. The draft has changed. You do have NIL opportunities. You do now have an extra year that could offer leverage, but also you're getting a year older, so that may hurt you from the draft. Like, there's just a lot of different moving parts. And the best thing I can tell you, which is not a great, it's not a great answer to give you a hard and fast conclusion, is every case is different. Every player has a different draft grade. Every player has a different financial situation at home. Every player has a different feeling about college baseball. Every player has a different feeling about LSU. Like, there's just a lot of variables. Like, based on what I've heard about Stephen Milam's situation, he loves it at LSU. He's going to get paid close to or more than what his projected signing bonus would be. And he's fine being a year older and losing a little bit of money in next year's draft. As far as I have heard with Jake Brown, Like, he loves playing for LSU. The fact of the matter is he's probably a top 60 pick. That comes with a healthy price tag. I don't know. I'm willing to leave the door open. I'm just not betting on it. Curiel is going to get north of $5 million. No 5-for-5 situation is going to change that. There are people mocking him in the top 10 now. I've seen him as high as 8. That's real cash. And as Jay Johnson has said in public, in these press conferences, like, if a guy's going to go in the top 20 picks, like, I'm going to tell him to go. It's $6 million, $5 million, $4 million. Like, it's just, you're not getting that at LSU to play in the NIL era. You're just not. You're not getting $4 million. Sam Levitt is. The shortstop's not. So, again, I got to unpack this. I gotta look at some more things. I got to make some phone calls and kind of see what I hear on things. But to me, this is going to be a good thing for the Cade Belosos and Gavin Dugas of the world, the Rafe Rhymes, Mason Katz of the world, the guys who, Will Helmers, that just are Louisiana guys, don't really have pro aspirations, just want to play. Like, they can play. They can play an extra year. Is this going to be a huge impact? Are you going to see let me think of Anthony Ianson. Not a top 20 pick, but a very draftable prospect, 3 years in. Is this going to mean Anthony Ianson, after his third year of college, because he still has the leverage after a fourth year of college, is going to come back and play baseball at LSU? I do not think so. I think once you become draft eligible and you're that level of prospect, you're going to want to start your professional career. Now, some cases they don't. Stephen Milam didn't. It's not a uniform thing, but I don't think this is going to be massively impactful. You're going to see punters stick around for a fifth year if they want to play. You're not going to see edge rushers and 5-star wide receivers stick around for another year for NIL money. I don't think. They could if they're potential fifth-round picks, but we're talking about first and second-round picks, right? We're talking about guys who want to get to that second NFL contract. Every situation is different, but it's a big day. And I think that if you're asking me what the most immediate impact on LSU is, it is absolutely Will Wade's first basketball team. Because Yamadar is beyond this. And, RJ Lewis is not beyond this. He played 3 years. He's been out for 1.5. So technically could come back and play in that fifth year, 5 to play 5. But I just don't know without doing some more research, and this broke while I was on the air. So I'll have more thoughts on it probably tomorrow. I'll do some digging on it. I'll probably write about it at LouisianaSports.net and just kind of see what I learn. But it's just one of those deals where sometimes when you're doing a live radio show and live news happens, I don't have enough time to research this. This has just been spitballing for me off the top of my head. And that's best I can do for you when news breaks while I'm on the air. So I'll give thoughts to it as we move into tomorrow's show, and I'll probably write about it over at LouisianaSports.net. Tuesday show is brought to you by Immense Network Cloud IT Management. What are the Pels going to do? Trade Trey Murphy? We'll talk to Sharief Ishaq about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Shout out Marucci. Go take a tour at Marucci. Learn the story. Learn a great story. Baton Rouge story about a couple of former big leaguers and their athletic trainer who started making bats in the backyard. And they liked him, so they started showing them off, and people liked those. And then they all of a sudden exploded into the official bat of Major League Baseball. And you can learn how that happened. Plus, see where they make 1,200 of them a day to send to the best players in the world. You can see where they're cut, where they're stained, where they're shipped off. Such a cool thing for us to have here in Baton Rouge, the official bat of Major League Baseball. And you can learn that story and watch how it's done at Marucci. You can also become a member. With that membership comes a key card into the hitter's house, 24/7 access to the cages, to the practice facilities over at Marucci. Got a youth baseball player, youth softball player under your roof that wants to get some work in this summer? Become a member at Marucci. They're online at MarucciSports.com. That's MarucciSports.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
brought to you by Immense Networks Cloud IT Management, immense.net, immense.net, where you can find them. We can find Sharief Ishaq down in New Orleans, where the Pelicans may or may not make some news today. We'll talk about it with Sharief Ishaq, WDSU. Now he joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sharief, how are you?
Good. Interested day. I'm just trying to figure out what what is about to happen.
What do you think the Pelicans' thought on their organization is currently? I'm not talking about specific players. I'm talking about how close they are to winning, how many of these guys need to be part of the core if they are. Like, what is the overall outlook on the Pelicans organization today, right now?
They're not close to winning, Hunt.
Yep.
I mean, they're far off from winning after, 21, 25 win seasons. They're not close. This team needs to be shredded apart, and it has to be somewhat of a rebuild. Not a complete rebuild, but it has to be somewhat of a rebuild because you can't keep saying, well, we're just going to run it back with a new coach. And then, boom, you win them 30 games, and you're like, well, I guess it's not the coach, it's the players. So I think they're far off. They're so far off. They're not even close. They're not even on the same planet. They're like somewhere in Mars right now.
Who are the two most important players on this team for the franchise moving forward?
It has to be Fears and Queen.
Okay.
Anybody else should be on the trading block, and it's no questions.
What can they get for Trey Murphy?
Realistically, I think that you can get 2 pieces and 2 first-round picks. There's going to be a desperate team out there that's going to offer you a lot. You just got to make sure you get the right young pieces that fit what Jamal Mosley wants. I know he's a defensive coach, but he just has to remind himself that he cannot go without a 3-point shooter or wing guy, a consistent 3-point shooter wing guy like he was in Orlando, where he struggled to have, the 3-ball from anyone other than Desmond Bane. But if you can get me 2 players and 2 firsts, or 1 really good player and a couple firsts, he's their best piece, and then it's Herb Jones as their second best piece. I would do my due diligence and do my best to, trying to get the best offer from multiple teams for each player. It's time to move on to your best young assets. I know 28 isn't really young, but Trey's 25, and they still can both play at a high level. And you know how it works, son. They're going to leave the Pelicans and become way better players somewhere else. That's just how it is. This is the farm system for the NBA. The people have been joking about it, but it's not a joke. It's real. So if those 2 guys can net you a couple first-round picks, 2 first-round picks, and some players, 2-3 players, I think that's a plus for them in this NBA draft and moving forward.
The discussion around Zion's at least a little bit different because he played this year. I wouldn't suggest he was dominant, but he did play. He didn't get hurt. So is there a market for him at all? It's a large contract, obviously.
Nope, no market. He's
Okay.
part of this franchise. I should have thrown him in there. Joe Dumars does not want to get rid of him, and he's going to be part of this franchise. It'd been nice. It'd be nice if you can get like a legit big for him and put him next to Derek Queen, a rim protector. But they don't want to trade him. That ship feels like it has sailed a long time ago, and they want to keep him on the team. Trey and Herb are the only 2 names that are really circulating. It's because they can get you the most bang for your buck. Their contracts aren't bad. They are young. They're still they still really haven't hit their peaks, and they can get you a lot. Whereas Zion, $40-something million contract, doesn't play defense. You don't know how many games he's going to play. You don't know if he's going to get injured. His offensive game has improved, but there's really no jumper there. He can attack the rim, does things that other people can't do, but he's too far removed now. So now he's pretty much on this team moving forward.
Do you think they're trying to get into this draft?
Yes, 100% trying to get into this draft. Absolutely. They want a top 10 pick, top 12 pick. They want to get in this draft. They'd love to have 2 picks in this draft to rebuild and restock. They're going to try their best, man. They're going to offer Trey and Herb and see if they can get a great return. I don't think they're going to try to do pennies on a dollar. It'd be foolish. It'd be a fireable offense. It'd be malpractice if they got pennies on the dollar for a tremendous talent like Trey and even Herb. I know his offensive game wasn't the greatest, but he can still play lockdown defense, and he can fit on another team and make them an even better defensive team. So you cannot get pennies on the dollar for these 2 stars on this team.
Does that feel like it feels like two different trades, Trey in one and Herb in another, or you think they can package them?
No, it's got to be two different teams.
Right.
It's got to be two separate trades to me. I think that's just how the market is. I've been thinking all day. I mean, Fletcher has his own trades. He is the trade machine guru. He's been all over it for the last month. It's hard for me to think. I've been thinking. I know the Thunder won't do it. Joke having Caruso and maybe their 2 first-round picks for Trey Murphy, but they're trying to get off some money. But I think that would help them a lot if they would make that trade to give them the 2 picks in the first round this year and get Caruso on this team. Would be a number 2 next to, Pierce being the point guard, and maybe you trade Herb to the, Hawks for their 2nd first-round pick, and maybe throw in another small salary player to make it work. So those are some of the things I've kicked around. I'm sure none of that is even close. I mean, the Golden State one seems to be the hot one right now with Trey, Moody, and Pod for the number 11 pick, and Trey. So that seems to be the hot one right now. I mean, I don't know how much I like it, but at least you're getting 2 young players and a pick in the top 12.
What are the odds that the Pelicans don't do anything today other than just sit back and make their second-round pick?
That'd probably be the most Pelicans thing ever. let everyone, their 2 top guys, 2 top assets on the team are available and doesn't happen. But that doesn't mean they won't be traded, this summer.
Right.
But they're all about, Troy and Joe are all about improving through the draft. And they've hit home runs in their draft history. They've done a good job in the draft. I mean, he did it last year with the 3 guys they picked. So I truly think they are going to do their best to get into the first round. They want to make a pick. They like this draft. They like how deep it is. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they don't make it, but I'd be shocked, to be honest with you.
Sharief Ishaq down in New Orleans covering the Pels and the Saints. The quietest time of the year for the Saints at this point. What is next for them? Is it simply just to wait the 6 weeks until training camp, or we have some sort of boxes they need to check over the next month?
So Tyler Shuck the other day on Wednesday, the second minicamp practice, said the receivers, they're all going out to San Diego, getting a house, getting a beach house, and they're going to get some help from Drew Brees, and they're going to get together and work out a lot, and see if they can get their chemistry built even more. There's a lot of receivers on this team. Finally, it's a deep position. So they're going out to San Diego. He said he's going to Oregon and San Diego, but they're going to do a majority of their work together with Drew Brees in San Diego. So I think that's the biggest thing to keep an eye on over the next 5 weeks before training camp kicks off here. Those guys just, getting that much needed work and chemistry, and making sure he's comfortable and getting in sync with those guys. I think that's a very important thing, considering you got a lot of moving pieces with those receivers. But that's a plus sign. It's good to see him as a leader, man. It's a good, to have a quarterback who's ready to get out there and work with his guys. I mean, you want to see this offense progress. You want to see this franchise progress. And the best way to do it is have your quarterback take charge like he's doing this summer.
Enjoy the draft tonight, Sharief. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother. See you next Tuesday.
Sharief Ishaq, WDSU, down in New Orleans. Our Tuesday shows brought to you by Immense Networks, Cloud IT Management. Look, Immense is a partner in your IT management. If you've got an IT department that is overworked, that is constantly running back and forth, trying to fix all the problems in the office, and just feel like maybe a little short-staffed there, then contact Immense. Immense is not here to replace those people. Immense is there to help. If you have a third-party IT department that you're just not happy with, contact Immense, immense.net. Immense is here to not only work with you with your IT, but also to use information and technology to better do whatever it is that you do. They're fantastic at being innovative and using technology, maybe things that you're not even aware exist, to help out in whatever line of work you're in. They help with security. They help with business development. They help with break and fix. They supplement the work that your current IT staff does. If you're between 50 and 100 employees, you're a local business, contact Immense. They're big enough that they can service larger companies. They're small enough that you're going to get that relationship feel from Immense. You can check them out online at immense.net. It's Immense Networks Cloud IT Management. They bring you our Tuesday shows each and every week. All right, Jordan, I'll let you opine on the draft here real quick. You look a little pensive, a little nervous over there over what's going to go on in the next 10 hours.
I'm not really more nervous. I'm just upset. I'm very upset because the fact that we're in a position where the number one pick of 2019, the generational prospect, that the savior and all this, that was crowned to come to the Pelicans, has little to no value at this point. And Trey Murphy is a more valuable asset. And Trey Murphy has to suffer for Zion's consequences of failing to reach his expectations. So, and then the fact that he's going to, he's still on this roster in 2026, it's baffling to me that this team is, well, what is looking like they're pivoting towards, hey, Zion's our guy, when that's not the reality that they should be going in. Trade to, I'm seeing the Hawks, and then he talking about OKC. I'd rather just take a fork and jab my eyeballs out, honestly, than to watch that either happen tonight. But if you ask me to wrap this up, I think what the Pelicans need to do going forward-wise was obviously get off Zion and Herb. Trey Murphy's a shooter. You're going to spend more time trying to replace a shooter when you have no shooting. Move forward with Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen. That's your lane. You keep trying to run this back and be the top of the play-in. You're not the upper echelon team in the Western Conference, and teams are going to keep getting better. You need to move towards this youth movement, retool, but that's not what they're going to do. Well, you know what? You have Joe Dumars, Sleepy Joe at the helm. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I just got to just sit behind the wheel and just watch this car wreck.
Do you think they pick in the first round tonight?
I would hope. I mean, man, it just depends on what they give up, but it's going to have to be Trey. So I think they will. Honestly, yes, because they like this draft. There's been months of rumor that they want to get into this draft. And when there's smoke, there's fire. So that's where I'm at with the hunt.
At least it's interesting. More interesting than the on-the-court stuff the last couple of years.
It's interesting, but I'm just sick because what is going on? I can't tell you what's going on. We're a farm system. Yeah. That's what's going on.
Trey will be in the playoffs next year. Just
shout out to him. He's got out of hell. Shout out to him.
We'll see. NBA draft fires up tonight. Chris Marler walked into my office earlier today and he goes, "Hey, I'm working on graphics. LSU didn't have anybody that's going to get drafted tonight, do they?" And I said, "In the NBA draft?" I don't think so. I think when he said draft, I thought he meant like the MLB draft. I was like, we got some of those. We don't got any that are going in the NBA draft. You can go ahead and take the night off. All right, we'll come back and close out the show next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
First American Bank and Trust, FABT.com, FABT.com. Started up in 1910. 116 years later, they are still rocking and rolling, grown to 25 locations throughout South Louisiana. If you're in St. John Parish, First American Bank and Trust. Lafourche Parish, First American Bank and Trust. Terrebonne, First American Bank and Trust. St. Tammany, Tangipahoa up I-12, First American Bank and Trust. There's a location near you if you're in Southeast Louisiana. If you need a personal loan, First American Bank and Trust. Need a commercial loan, you know it, First American Bank and Trust. Every decision that is made on those loans is made locally here in Southeast Louisiana. If you pick up the phone and call your bank when you bank with First American Bank and Trust, you get a local answer, not a call center somewhere on the East or West Coast. That's the difference when you bank local, and they've got the resources with those 25 locations to help you out. Check them out online at FABT.com. That's First American Bank and Trust.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Sports trivia tonight at Court to Table on Burbank, just after 8 o'clock. Start up about 8:05. Have you out of there by 9:15, 9:20. We'll have the NBA draft on. We'll have the World Cup on. You can come hang out, win gift cards, eat their awesome food, great drinks. It's a great time at Court to Table, so I invite you to come on out tonight to Court to Table on Burbank at about 8 o'clock for sports trivia. You can come by yourself, bring a team. Always a great time. Hope to see you out there tonight. We got one more order of business left to go here on this Tuesday, and that is take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, the sportsbook hero, Brendan Sorsby, got some bad news today. So the NFL is declining to hold a supplemental draft this summer, currently leaving the 2027 draft as the only way for Sorsby to enter the NFL. Letters being sent to Sorsby and to all 32 other teams. So the league continues to show that it has a little tolerance for gambling issues. So will Sorsby end up in the draft in 2027? Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I mean, he's a talented dude. I watched a lot of his highlight tapes when I knew that LSU was in the mix for him. I mean, he wasn't, first-team All-American last year, but he's a good athlete, got a decent arm. He's got now massive off-the-field baggage, and he's going to have not played for a year, so he's going to have his stock hit pretty significantly here. But somehow give him a shot. It's quarterback.
All right, so the NFL Top 100 list that's voted on by the players is being rolled out currently. And Bryce Young was ranked at 98. Yes, Bryce Young, the Carolina Panthers quarterback. So is Bryce Young a top 100 player in the NFL? Take it or leave it.
Leave it.
Just leave it alone.
I'm not buying the Panthers. This is coming from the guy who told you for 2 weeks he wasn't buying Oklahoma and they won the national championship. So maybe the Panthers will win the Super Bowl this year.
Lord, please.
I just don't believe that's going to happen. I don't think they're very good. I think they lucked into. No, that's not fair. I think they played above their skis for about a month last year. Yeah. They got a big win in Green Bay. They were running the football extremely well, and they eked about over a disaster division
Atlanta.
where the Saints,
they kept beating
Saints in Atlanta were swapping quarterbacks in the middle of the season. The bottom fell out on Tampa, and like Carolina was the last person standing on the aisle. And like, all right, I'll go to the playoffs if you want. They won't be going this year. So that's what I have to say about that.
All right, so Cam Jordan came in at number 100. So you feel any type of way about Cam Jordan making the list now?
I don't think he's a top 100 player in the NFL either. Ooh. I mean, I can't go through 100 players off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't either.
But I think Cam's sack numbers were awesome, and I think it's good that he's back on the team. I don't think he's a top 100 player in the league anymore.
All right, so McDonald's is bringing back the original fried apple pie for a limited time beginning today, June 23rd.
Okay.
The OG disappeared in the early 90s when McDonald's swapped for an oven-baked version.
Okay.
Now, 34 years later, the fan-favorite dessert is making its return. So, apple pie's original recipe, take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it.
Okay.
I'll take it. But if I'm going to McDonald's and getting a treat, it's going to be a McFlurry. Like, I'm going to...
Whoa. What McDonald's you going to that they're selling those?
The machine, I'm sure, is broken.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure. But, look, it's a more delicious thing. Apple pie on my pie tier list is way down. It's way down. Like, apple pie tastes good. I'm not saying an apple pie is bad.
Okay.
There are better pies than apple pie.
Can we get a couple better than apple pie?
There's a lot of pie going on at my family Christmases and Thanksgivings. Chocolate is A tier. It's my favorite. Chocolate pie, phenomenal. Right. Coconut is excellent.
Okay.
I like a lemon pie as well. Those are the general go-tos. I like pumpkin pie. I'd rather a pumpkin pie than an apple pie. I like pumpkin pie.
A nice warm apple pie.
I mean, look, you give me an apple pie with a scoop of Bluebell vanilla ice cream on top, I'm a happy guy.
Okay.
That's a delicious dessert. It's down the list. I want some of the other ones before it.
Okay. Well, that's it for Take It or Leave It.
That's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Tuesday. Matt just tweeted this. Since he put it out on Twitter, I'll go ahead and just read it here as we finish up the show. Matt said at the Will Wade dinner last night, which was held at Supper Club, that boosters raised $2.5 million for this year's NIL roster at one dinner.
Huh?
That's good work. I'll just say that. I didn't contribute any cash to that. That's a lot.
One sitting.
That's Will Wade's a needle mover. You can hate him. You can love him. It doesn't matter how you feel about Will Wade. He moves the needle. And he moves the needle in this market incredibly hard. And obviously that happened last night.
What drinks were being given out last night? Will Wade, $2.5 million in one sitting.
That's where we are.
That is, I thought you were, what? That is crazy.
It's for basketball around here.
Exactly, not football.
Football's making 40. Jay's getting the top transfer portal class in baseball. A lot of things moving in Baton Rouge, it appears. But that's a jaw-dropping stat to hear. And Matt laid that out on Twitter earlier. I'm sure he'll have more talk about that on AFR later on today. Again, hope to see you out at Sports Trivia tonight. If you missed any of our show today, you can catch it on demand. We hit a lot of different topics today. I opened the show talking about Oklahoma's win in the College World Series, just kind of what that means for college baseball. It's further proof that this sport keeps teams relevant for a very, very long time, because Oklahoma did not play great for 57 games to count the SEC tournament, where LSU beat them, and they still found a way to the top. And they were clearly the best team in Omaha based on the way that they played for that 2 weeks. So awesome stuff for Oklahoma. I talked about that. Also chatted with Glenn West about all three LSU sports. You can find that at Hunt on LSU. I just think Rafael Devers should be cut from the Giants for not allowing a pinch runner to come in for him last night and then throwing a fit when they actually did pinch run for him. We talked about that at the end of hour number one. Gave a snapshot of the Alabama Crimson Tide and just how important this season is going to be for Kalen DeBoer at the helm in Tuscaloosa. There's a 4-game stretch over 5 weeks that I think will define them, and LSU is the last one of those. So talked about Alabama there. New NCAA rules, 5 for 5, was passed today. How does that impact LSU? I'm going to look into that this evening and tomorrow morning before I talk about it more on tomorrow's show. And then Sharief, Ishaq talking a little bit of Pell. So missed any of it, catch it on Hunt Palmer Show. Always invite you to our YouTube channels, Hunt on LSU, or you can find our LSU content, Hunt on Saints. You can find our Saints content every day. Matt's going to drive you home next one after further review. We're back tomorrow, Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. The one thing that David and his team do more often than any other job is the tub to shower conversions. If you've got a big bathtub that was maybe built in the 90s, all those jets and jacuzzis that you don't use, get rid of it. If you've got an old dingy tub, get rid of it. If you got a tub that doesn't really work anymore, get rid of it. Bathtubs take up a lot of space in your bathroom. And if you don't use them, why is it there? You can take it out, put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower, completely change the aesthetic of your bathroom, completely change the functionality of your bathroom. And David and his team do it all the time. You can go to the website, onebathandclosets.com, and see the pictures of the great work that he has done. It is customized, it is new, and they do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Check him out online. It's David Ball and One Bath and Closets. They're right there at onebathandclosets.com.